Welcome to our third episode of Weekly Winners. We're coming right off the heels of that Bucks championship win. Very exciting for everybody in Wisconsin. We were watching it, going crazy with everybody at the bar. Just you saw the scene on TV of the 60,000 strong in Milwaukee. The city and the state are really just going crazy for this team. Giannis is just beloved by everyone right now. It's We're not going to get over this one for a long time.
I'd have to agree with that statement. Just a monster performance from Giannis.
And
I
he
mean, he could,
deserves all of the credit in the world. But that is a lot of what you're going to see today is just Giannis, Giannis, Giannis. Of course, he deserves it. He really carried the team. He was kind of him and Bobby Porter. So really, the only ones you could say had a great game. No one else really was living up to what they did in Game 5, but was enough to get it done. But something I would specifically like to focus on is despite Giannis really carrying them in Game 6 there, is this team as a whole finally being able to root for the team as a whole. Because in Wisconsin, as Bucks fans, of course you have hopes of your team doing well over the course of the playoffs. And correct me if this is not the sentiment that you've had, but I felt like the last 2 or 3 years before this, it's been more about rooting on Giannis to win like MVPs and personal awards rather than really thinking that this team was gonna make it to the finals. Of course, like I said, you have the hope that it will happen, but it feels good to have a team that should be bringing pretty much everyone back, defending their championship, and are real contenders, on top of also rooting for Giannis to win those personal awards.
yeah, I'd say until Drew uh, got brought in, that's kind of what it was. We always knew Giannis could carry us, second, third round of
Mhm.
playoffs, but it was never like, oh, we're going to be able to go out and compete with the super teams
Mhm.
where you
I,
got
I
two
I
to
did
three
have
perennial all stars on each squad.
th-
Like,
right. You kind of needed that third all star level player in there, and I did believe last year, but the moment we like dropped two to the Heat, it was like, they don't really have anything, and more importantly, I don't trust Bud to like make that adjustment, and he didn't. But for
right.
some reason this year, you go down two to the Nets, which the Nets clearly a better team than the Heat were last year. We're still believed, wasn't quite as nervous, and I'm a little conflicted. I don't really know how to feel about Bud now. He outcoached Monty Williams, which I think is something that no one would have expected going into this series. Monty Williams did brought this Suns team with pretty much just the addition of Chris Paul from not making the playoffs to going all the way to the finals. But I think we could pretty comfortably say that Bud made the extra adjustments through it, throwing Drew on Chris Paul early in this series. You could see it clearly made an impact on him, really kind of wore him out. And Monty Williams kind of at the end of his last two games really didn't have anything to throw at him at the end of games.
Yeah, I mean, I think even if, like, let's say the Bucks, still make the finals, still come back from being down 0-2 to the Nets. I think if the Bucks don't win the finals, I think Bud is still in the hot seat.
I would definitely agree with that. Yeah. I think if
Like,
if we would have gone and dropped those first two to the Suns, and maybe win split at home, and then they win it like Game 5, we lose the finals 4-1. That's the kind of with the team we're going up against and the talent we have. I would say that's would be underachieving at that point.
right.
Yeah, but I mean, not gonna rag on Monty Williams too much for that Game 6, because you do have the best player in the league going against you, who does have exactly one way to stop him. The one, that one big glaring hole in his game of the free throw making. So you just foul him a bunch, and he decides to go 17 of 19 from the free throw line. which is just crazy.
Yeah, unprecedented from
He
him.
the last one he missed didn't even matter. The game was already wrapped up by that point. He just knew he wanted exactly 50, not 49, not 51, exactly 50. So he had to miss that last free throw.
All right, because he can't order 51 chicken nuggets. I mean,
Hilarious clip of him with the championship trophy and the MVP trophy in the car. That girl had no idea who he was at all.
oh right. I think the funniest clip was him in the car with the trophies. And he's like, I stole it from the organization. Like, what's the punishment? Am I getting traded?
Are they
Am
gonna
I
waive
getting
me?
waived?
I totally believe too, like that he wasn't supposed to take him. He was just too
right,
excited. I don't think I've ever seen that before. A player that just like has the trophy afterwards. Like,
right. It's just it's a hard guy not to love.
right. I mean, the problem is now once the guy he was gonna have to kind of start facing the music no matter how this went, because once you win 2 MVPs, if you don't win a championship and you're on a good team, like people will start being like, yeah, like he is an exciting player, but is he like the fire's going to turn up a little bit? Like, hey, it's time to win. Like, if you're this good, why can't you get to a championship? And now at the same time, now that you've won a championship, there's no reason to win another, no reason not to win another one. So like kind of the expectations are raised no matter what. But I think he's shown he's more than willing to rise up and meet those expectations.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very exciting for the Bucks fans. It's a little too early. I don't know what haven't really done the deep dive on what the offseason is going to have to look like for them, but don't have to worry about that too much yet. Just can enjoy this while it lasts, and you know, it's baseball season now.
Right.
And
I mean, football's what? I think 49 days out. I think
I
yesterday
cannot
was the
wait. Yeah.
50-day mark. So
Guys returning to camp and everything. Big picture going around that I saw this morning. Big Ben coming into camp looking trim. Not really. I didn't really think, but hey, whatever headline we want to run with.
he dropped from 260 to 255 or something.
Hey, he's feeling spry. No, but almost as exciting as that Bucks championship. You turned in that a 4-0 a day betting the baseball, kind of climbing out of a little bit of hole you went in over the weekend.
Yeah, so I kind of changed up what I was doing a little bit. Still doing the plus odds, but the issue is I was moving lines so much. I mean, you look at I believe it was Sunday. It was Sunday or Monday. I had the Rangers like -3.5. And they were doing everything I thought they would, but they left 18 guys on base.
Right.
It's like, they were hitting the ball, getting on base. They just weren't or not the Rangers, sorry, the Astros.
I don't think the Rangers have had 18 guys on base all season.
Right. Yeah, my bad. But it's like they were doing everything I thought they would, and they just weren't able to drive guys in, because I also double dipped on that game and had them over 5.5 runs, and they only scored 4 guys while leaving 18 on base. So it was just like I was just moving lines a little too much. So I kind of toned it back then on Tuesday and hit that 4-0. Be looking to get on a little hot streak here, hopefully, because I believe that puts me around 2.3 units up.
You are 2.292. So yeah, back in the positive. I've kind of been pretty consistent, turning in 2 in 2 days, turning in 3 in 1 days, just kind of slowly going up. Tuesday was a little bit of hiccup for me. Went 1-3, lost a little over 2 units. Only thing I won on was the Angels and A's under. I double dipped on that game. I will ask you a little bit more because you double dipped on the Astros, but it was the Astros to win and their run line, whereas I did the Angels and the Angels to beat the A's and the under in that game, where it was my first time betting two lines in the same game. I don't know if I'll necessarily go back to it. I'm kind of used to doing it during football season because there's maybe fewer games that I like. Or maybe it's like a Monday night game and there's only one game. But I think there's maybe just too much baseball for me to try to thread the needle of one game going that exact way that I need it to.
Yeah, I'll never. The only time I'll really double dip is if I do it the way I did like the Astros,
Right.
where I think there's one team that is just gonna go out and score their runs.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll double dip that because, like even bad teams can have good days. So like how you had, the I believe it was under 8, if I'm correct on
Under
that.
9.
Under 9. And it's like, okay, so maybe you were extremely confident that like you had the A's in that game or the Angels.
Angels.
Okay, so like you're super confident the Angels are going to win.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, I think they're going to have to score, 5-6 runs to do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was really kind of seeing they had pretty good pitching going out there. I was like, well, it feels like a very low scoring game to me. And if it's a game that's going to be that low scoring, the thought process was kind of these teams aren't that much apart in a skill gap. If it's going to be a 3-2, 2-1 kind of game, I'll take the team with the plus odds. It's going to go their way more times than the odds indicate. But
Right. I
it
guess
wasn't
my
necessarily as low scoring as I thought it was going to be.
I guess my recommendation to you would have been, it's like you see Shohei's on the mound having an amazing season, but the Angels never pitch him more than 6 innings.
That is
Very
true.
rarely
He doesn't go
do.
very deep.
And their bullpen is not strong. I mean, the first, I think 27 guys they drafted were all pitchers.
Yeah.
And almost all of those were relief pitchers because they do have some pretty glaring bullpen needs.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it's different if you're betting, if you see like Garrett Cole on the mound.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, he's a good shot. He might go like 8 innings here.
Right. He might just ignore his manager and go through 127 pitches to get his full game shutout.
Right. And it's like, but when you have a guy like Shohei on the mound, it's like, yeah, okay, like great season he's having, great pitcher, but a third of the game he won't be out there.
Right.
So obviously I believe the under is still hitting that game.
Yeah.
But I mean that is something to think about when you have a guy like that who's good, but he's not really going to go the full typically 7-8 innings from a starter.
Yeah, I guess I did not really consider that. You just kind of see him on the mound. I did know he usually gets pulled. It did not cross my mind when I was picking the lines. But I'm looking to bounce back here. I'm still up exactly 1 unit, 10-9. So we're both in the positive, both on the right side of that 0 line at least. So hopefully you can keep your streak going, and I can get back to my winning ways here.
It's kind of what I'm hoping.
Yeah, so I got 3 games I'm betting today. Good amount of games. Couple games that they're not quite sure who's pitching quite yet. So there's a couple lines not available to us. But this is for the Thursday night games. I'm gonna go Cardinals minus a run and a half against the Cubs. I just kind of think again, those teams are pretty similar in the division. They see each other a lot. Cardinals are just trotting out a better pitcher out there today, so I'm gonna believe in them to do that. I looked at just betting them on the money line, and the odds just weren't quite there. So I'm gonna take that little bit of a risk that they're not gonna win by just one to get that line a little bit more favorable for me. I'm going to Angels and Twins over 10, and both those pitchers before we even consider the bullpens in that game. If you just take the ERAs of the starting pitchers of that game, we're already over 10. So that's gonna be plus 115. Even I moved that from 9 to 10, I believe, to get it to that number.
Okay.
So I like that. If both those guys wake up and they've got their best stuff working, I'm just gonna have to live with that because neither of them are exactly having the seasons they want. And then I'm gonna go Giants plus 144 when they're going back to Dodger Field. Both guys, I forget who the Dodgers are walking Walker Buehler out there, who's really, as a guy who everyone knew was pretty good, but kind of was like the third pitcher on that roster. He's really put together a good campaign this year. He's very quietly been very dominant pretty much every time that they've trotted him out there.
Yeah.
And the Giants, pull this up here. The Giants are walking God, that was strong. Anthony Discagliani, if that's how to pronounce it. I always have trouble with that one. But he's had a great year this year as well. So I'm looking at, another in-division game. Very similar pitching. Giants absolutely not quite as good as the Dodgers, but I'll believe in them for today when if it's going to be a low score. I did look at that run line as well, but it's at 8, which, feels about right. And that's one that could be low, through that 7 or 8 innings, and maybe even goes into OT or something, and you get you lose that over in extras. So I'm just gonna roll with the Giants on the money line there, and that's plus 144. So I've got 3 pretty decent odds, getting plus odds on all 3 of my bets today. What do you got your eye on?
So I've got 4. So the first one I'll start off with is the one I like the least. But I think I do have a decent option to push on it. So speaking of that Giants and Dodgers game, I actually moved the run line.
Mm-hmm.
I moved it to under 7. I don't see a lot of baseballs being hit today. Feels to me like one of those games that's like, 1-0, 2-0.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought about going under 7.5, but it was right around even, and I could get under 7 for plus 135, and then you still have the option to push.
Right, you leave that door open for you to, just kind of have that zeroed out, get your money back, and if you win, you get that little extra boost, and you're not feeling so bad where if you didn't move the line and then it goes and it's like 2-0 or something. And
right.
Like, why didn't I was thinking about moving it? Why didn't I move it? For the half run, it's worth it most of the time.
Right. So I got again under 7 in that Giants at Dodgers at plus 135. Mm-hmm. Next, we're going to a line that we both took, Cardinals minus 1.5. Just like, pitching matchup head to head. I'm liking the batting splits I'm seeing. And honestly, the Cubs are just bad. I just hate the Cubs. That one's a little bit of just a personal bet. My hatred for the Cubs runs deep. So,
Mhm.
um,
And next week, Thursday, we're staring down the barrel of the trade deadline. And so we're going to do a little bit of a dive on that. Our episode is Thursday. I believe deadline is Friday night. I have a feeling the Cubs may come up in that discussion.
I think so as well.
They have a couple guys that are kind of been in trade talks for years. So
yeah, I feel, yeah, I don't know. I'll get into that on next Thursday. I'd be surprised if there was one name in particular that we don't bring up.
Mhm.
So next we're gonna go to Yankees at the Red Sox. This one I took the Red Sox at -1.5. Just home away splits, right left splits, pitching matchup. It's just feeling like it's got a sizable Red Sox victory to me. And at +155, there's really nothing there that'll motivate me to move that line. Because again, it's baseball. One swing of the bat could turn a 5-run lead into a 2-run lead, And then last but not least here, I'm taking the Braves at -1.5 at the Phillies at +116. I mean, the Braves have one of the few bright spots on the mound tonight. Their pitching has been fairly atrocious. But yeah, between that and just once again batting splits, I'm liking the Braves to win it against the Phillies.
I'm trying to look now, and I don't think it's been announced yet, but it seems like there is a chance that Bryce Harper comes back for this game.
Oh,
so
that I haven't.
He hasn't exactly, been lighting the world on fire, but a solid piece to add back into the lineup. I don't think it's a huge deficit to your bet, even if he does come back. It's got to shake the rust off a little bit, coming back.
Right.
You're gonna have to live with it if he's single-handedly.
Yeah, that's just something I'll take.
Mm-hmm. And he might not either. You're seeing this from a lot of the guys who are close to coming back. Maybe he just comes back in a pinch hitting role at the end just to start seeing it a little bit again. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see for that announcement there for that game.
It's looking like his status is active. Mm-hmm.
So does that give you any pause about that bet, or does the one man not really worry you too much?
I'm still running it. I don't think it personally. I don't think it makes that big of a difference. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Because I was fairly hesitant going in. I mean, the Phillies are just dominant at home. They're winning like 65% of their games at home, which is kind of nuts for baseball. But yeah, I don't know. I think I'll still run with it. I don't hate it enough to, and the line just moved. So maybe I just got a worse, it dropped to 110 now.
Yeah.
For them to, I think I'm going to pull that bet now. Wow, why would that drop? They're almost even to win by, 2 essentially.
Who are the Phillies? Who are they pitching today?
Some dude who's pitched, Matt Moore.
Household name, Matt Moore.
Yeah, he's 0-1 on the season, a 5.25 ERA, 36 innings pitched.
Yeah, you'd hope the Braves can still get done, but I guess gotta wait an hour or so, see where the lines actually settle with Harper coming back.
Right.
But yeah, it's been interesting getting myself back acclimated with baseball, watching games here and there. I very rarely will sit down unless it's the Brewers and it's like a later game. I very rarely will sit down and watch a full 9 innings. I like to hop around the league a little bit. Let me go watch this game here, a little bit here. And I really was reminded how that West Coast baseball will absolutely kill the fans in either the central time zone or I couldn't even imagine the East. I mean, I'm watching the Giants play the Dodgers, and we're going to the 8th inning, and I'm trying to finalize our bets to tweet out our results, and I'm like, oh, did Cody win his bet here? It's like 12:30, 1 a.m. We're in like the middle of the 7th. We're at the stretch. I'm like, you know what? I haven't seen the Giants play a whole lot this year. Let me turn it on. Watch them do nothing for a couple innings, but yeah, those late games really will kill you if you're trying to stay up for good matchups like that. Especially with so many of the good teams like the Dodgers and the Padres, or even the Giants being out there, and with Shohei and Trout being on there, just like there's exciting people and teams that are way out on the coast that you want to see, but if you're a couple hours behind them, it's tough to see the ends of those games.
I mean, yeah, I think the first pitch of that game was like 9:40.
Yeah.
And baseball games are going at least 3 hours.
At least, yeah.
But nothing crazy. I mean, we had some 9-10s tonight.
Yeah.
Oakland and Seattle, and then the Giants and the Dodgers. But yeah, that will kill you.
Mm.
I mean, and then I can't imagine like when a West Coast team goes to play on the East Coast and you have like those noon first pitches on the East Coast.
He played yesterday too, and
it's like, if you want to watch that game and you're on the West Coast, you're like, oh, 8 a.m. first pitch. Let's go.
Yeah, right. Couldn't imagine the travel from like they always say like, oh, if you were to, get like, what sport would you have like focused all of your energy into if you could like go back to when you were like 6 and you just like, a lot of people will be like, oh, those baseball contracts, you get those, your 390 million over 10 years. Like, so yeah, you also have to play every night for 8 months and
right.
go, oh, we, just closed up the game here. It's, 10 o'clock, playing again at 2, couple time zones over. Just
right.
That was crazy.
I mean, don't get me wrong. If I'm making 40 mil a year, I'm cool with it. But there's a lot of guys doing it for a couple 100,000. It's like, at that point, I mean, I'm still probably doing it because I mean that's still good cash, but
could just as easily be in the minors where I don't know. I love to go watch a good minor league baseball game, but especially I had the Timber Rattlers right here by me, like the single A affiliate, or not even, I don't think. And you go watch these guys, and it's like they're making like pennies on the dollar for each game, just for the love of it.
I mean, most of those guys have second jobs. I don't know how you could live off those minor league salaries.
Be interesting to see
for the shot.
Kind of inner workings of it. It's like, how often are they really expected these guys to come to like practice? Like, you can't take up all of their time. Like, or are they truly only working something else in the off season?
There's a chance. Right. I mean, I wonder if, like, let's say, you have a minor league affiliate, like, let's say they broke off from the org.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't for the bigger organization, could like the Timber Rattlers financially run themselves? Like, do you think they make enough money at the ball games selling merch to be able to pay those players' salaries?
Obviously, the thing is with merch is obviously very different with them because no one's going and buying a player jersey.
Right.
If
It's
you
always
go,
just T-Rat shirts
if you
or
go and get your, and have my some T-Rats merch right here. It's their alternate Wisconsin Undertuggers gear, but yeah, once you buy a shirt or a hat or something, you're going to be good wearing that for 10 years. You don't
right,
ever need to refresh it. But they're not exactly expensive to go, but they get a good amount of people at those games. Like
right,
they still get plenty of sponsorships. The outfield wall is still covered in local or even bigger brands that are just paying probably not a lot, but they're paying for their sponsorship. I think I bought my 10 game ticket package this year for $100, $10 a game. And so if they can get 1,000, 2,000 people to come out to a game, they're still bringing in a decent amount of money. But
yeah. So it's looking like a team like the Timber Rattlers, the players make 10,500 a season.
yeah,
So you're thinking that they can cover salaries with just their
I think they could.
operations
I
there?
think they could probably cover salaries pretty well. Yeah, and they have like 2 concessions, so you got to pay some workers for that. But like, it's still a baseball game. It's not. There's still a decent upcharge for food. You're not getting stuff for like $1 or $2 unless it's like one of the nights of the specials. So yeah, I think per person they're still doing pretty well. They've also played at the same stadium forever. And they're not they're a minor league team. It's not gonna be like, oh my gosh, our stadium's 25 years old. We need a new one. You're just gonna do
Right.
some minor renovations. I'm sure the thing's been paid off for years at this point, and they're just gonna kind of keep playing there and keep going. They weren't even affiliated with the Brewers until too recently, officially.
Right.
So yeah, I think they can keep it going. But I don't. There's like the semi pros. I'm not even saying the minor league teams because there's teams all over the place that don't have affiliations. But as long as they can
Yeah,
throw
that Northwoods League or whatever, they have
the
the
Northwoods
Green
League,
Bay Bullfrogs or something.
there's a team in Fond du Lac, the Dock Spiders, I believe. Like as long as you can put a decent product out there, they're very much kind of playing to fans similar to myself, where it's even if it is like, unless it's a playoff game, like I'm not too, if there's any other sports on, I'm way more likely to watch that on TV. But I just love going to a baseball game. So unless you're putting like a high school product on out there where it's like, you're not going to see a whole lot that's exciting, or it's like, as long as you can put something out there that's going to be at least a couple guys might hit a home run. It's going to be exciting. A guy's going to hit, 90, 92, 93 on the radar gun, actually throw a little bit of heat for that level. People come out and watch it as long as you can brand it right.
Something that always intrigued me is, like the Brewers have sent people after, a pretty big injury, they've sent them down to the
Mhm.
Rattlers because they're close to do like a couple rehab games essentially.
Mhm.
And where they go and play. But minor league salaries are pretty like set in stone. Like if you're
Yeah.
playing AAA, you're getting 14,500. Double A, you're getting 12,500. Single A, you're making 10,500. How long would a player that got sent down have to play at like the single A level to now get their salary? Or does their contract trump
It's got to be the contract. Like,
that'll trump it?
unless there's specific language in there saying like there's
Like,
this or
hey,
that,
if
but
you
like,
spend a whole year down on AAA, you now get AAA salary.
I feel like that would be such like
I don't know who would sign that.
who would sign that? Because like you could just sign like there's these contracts that happen all the time where it is like the crazy 10-year ones, and it's like these teams are fully aware that that guy is going to be still in his prime for about 6 years of that salary, but they hope they can win in that time, and then they're perfectly fine paying those last 4 years, giving this guy just like a lucrative amount of money for his age 36, 37, 38, 39 seasons. But if they could do that and then be like, oh well, we won our World Series. You've had that slight decline from last year. You're clearly kind of not quite the player you were. Instead of paying you the $35 million we owe you, let's go send him down to Single A and pay him,
$10,000.
$10,000.
Right.
So I mean, maybe that is the case for like those big contracts, but I would guess not. But yeah, it's always an event. You hear about it. They do a great job advertising it. Like I still remember where it's like, oh, Jonathan Lucroy is coming down. He's going to play this 2-game series because he's it wasn't even like he was good on the Brewers. Wasn't exactly like the face of the franchise or anything. But I was like, oh, like we know that name. Like let's go see him. I think they've actually done very well on ticket sales because Garrett Mitchell has played the Brewers' #1 pick from last year. Has played a lot of games with the Timber Rattlers. But you always got to hope. It's weird because if you're like a Brewers fan, you're like, I love seeing the like prospects down here, but also for the well-being of the professional franchise, you don't want to see them down there for too long.
Right.
I don't want to be going next year and Garrett Mitchell is still plugging away in Single A. Like,
Right,
oh,
at that
what's
point,
going on here? Maybe
you're hoping he's getting a double or triple A.
right. Now, but as we kind of said, we were gonna do AFC team totals this episode with between the Bucks game and some things getting shifted around. We don't quite have enough time when we're recording, so we're gonna do that on Monday's show. Then Thursday after that, we have both the MLB trade deadline, as we said, which Cody's going to kind of do a deep dive on. And then I'm going to be on the other side of it, doing kind of a breakdown of at least the lottery picks of the NBA draft, which is also, I think, maybe even Thursday night. So 2 big episodes coming up on Monday and Thursday. And of course, we'll have our baseball picks sprinkled in there. We just gave our picks for today for Thursday. Those will also be out on the Twitter as well as our picks for every other day. That's at Weekly Winners WI. That is all our socials, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. But unless you've got anything else, I think that's where we'll leave it.
I guess I just some interesting stuff here. Just looked at some NBA futures. The Nets are -121 to win the Eastern Conference Finals next year. That's
Bucks have got to be second, right?
Yeah, +250. I just thought that was interesting. I've never seen a team that was minus to win
this early on
the conference finals.
Yeah. Where did they drop the Sixers down to?
Oh, after the Bucks and Nets, it's almost no shot for anyone else.
Really? Yeah.
Sixers at +800, Hawks and Heat at 1,600, and then the Celtics at 2,500. But even the Lakers are +175 to win the West, and I'd say they're pretty overwhelming favorites.
Yeah, I mean, I love that Nets number. I mean, I bet the Bucks to win the championship +550 at the start of the playoffs last year. Please build that hype up around the Nets again this year, and I'll do the exact same thing next year.
Right.
And I'll be celebrating just as hard this
Yeah, the Bucks
2022.
Bucks open at +700. Only two teams better are Nets at +200 and Lakers at +550.
Plus 200 is crazy for a team that obviously injuries, but
Right.
that
And
didn't
then
make the conference finals.
the Warriors are the next best odds at +1,000.
Don't get me wrong, as everyone does, I love Clay, but when's the last time we've really seen him play a meaningful minute? I love
Right.
him to be back, but you gotta be worried at this point. It's been so
Yeah.
long.
But yeah, that was all I had. I just thought it was an interesting
Yeah, definitely.
little thing to
I
look
didn't even
at.
I didn't even think to look at the opening. You always love them getting too like way far ahead.
Yeah, that
You
-121 is just ridiculous.
you always see like the guys like the day after the NFL draft, they're like mock draft 1.0 for next season.
Right.
All right.
Right. Or even like college football is really bad about that. Right after the college football
Right. The
playoff, it's like
like the,
the top 25 going into next year. It's like
the way too
you
early.
have high
Yeah.
school kids who haven't even committed. Like,
Right. All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening. Like I said, we'll have another episode coming out Monday, and then every Monday and Thursday. Yeah, hopefully our picks win. Hopefully your picks win, and just take it easy.